Hi, my name is Dirk Westphal, and this is an instructional video on how to make a surfboard. The first thing is I would encourage everyone to really take seriously all the warnings and fine print on the materials related to health concerns and toxicity levels and all that stuff. A lot of these materials are really bad for people if they're treated the wrong way, so be really smart about that. I guess at the very beginning, it all starts with the foam blank. There's lots of different types of foam blanks available. The ones that are not available, that used to be the standard, are Clark, but there are other people filling in for them. So the first thing to do is to decide what surfboard you want to make and take that surfboard. In this case, we're going to remake this surfboard. This happens to be a surfboard that I made, and it's a little bit experimental in the shape of its rails, but I like its outline, which is the general shape. So the first thing you have to do in making a template is copy your outline, and we're going to do that now. So here's the board we're going to be copying. Find yourself a big piece of paper. In my case, I used what they call a waste piece of seamless photographic background paper that comes in long rolls, which is what you need, or something that works for you. So here's my board. You just try to hold it down. It's not really rocket science, this part. And just trace the general shape, trying to do whatever you think to do to keep it uniform. And so there's our shape. From this board, that's the outline. And this board, we've gone and we've ordered a blank that corresponds to this blank. There's a lot left over, so what I may do is try to expand this one and make it larger so we can sort of maximize every bit of foam on this blank. So that's what we'll do. Cut. So here we have our outline, and what I've done is I've gone to the store and bought myself a nice thin piece of aluminum and drilled some holes through it so I can pin it down on the outline so I can make a nice cut. There's probably a million different ways to come up with a way to make a nice cut, but this is what I did. And this part, it is critical to make a nice cut. I'm going to have to answer the door now, so we'll get back to this. Okay, I'm back. That was the FedEx guy, and he actually knocked on the wrong door. So I'm pinning this down to get a nice continuous curve that corresponds to this board I have. And you kind of have to futz around with it, and the more you do it, like anything, the more you'll figure out what works for you. I mean, can you believe that? It can't be the FedEx guy again. So that was just the kid. So we're back here, we put this down, and then you use whatever kind of cutting instrument you're comfortable with and cut out your outline, the outside edge. So you do that, and it's vital that this is perfect, because any mistake you make here, the unevenness will be magnified when you lay this on the blank and cut your form out of your blank. So I've gone and cut this out, and then you find a straight edge, because what you're trying to do is really just create half the thing, and you lay that down the middle, and again you just cut that down right along the center perfectly, like so. And then you end up with this, which is a template. And then, if it's not obvious, you put that on your blank, and it's the mirror effect to create something that is completely symmetrical, because that's really hard. And you trace it, you pin it down. We'll do that in the booth when we get ready to shape. You lay that on here, you flip it over, and that's going to be your surfboard.
Coffee in the background.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is important. I forgot to mention this. These are the fins from this board we're recreating, and it's very important to make as many notations as possible on your template while you have that board. If you can keep the board while you're making your new board, that's even the best, but sometimes you can't do that. So you mark exactly where the fins are, and you take different notations about how thick it is and where it is. But we'll talk more about that later, because I've got to answer the phone. Sorry about that. I want to... sorry, I have to start over. Okay, I'm back. Before I go any further, I want to introduce my assistant, the kid.
How's it going?
Okay, so this is, we didn't get to this with the interruption there with the phone. It's important to take these notations with the fins. That is actually a very important part. Like a fraction of an inch can make a big difference to how the surfboard performs. So what we've done on this template is we've made a line where these fins go. Those are where the fins attach. Let me have a fin just for demonstration's sake. Those would fit in like so. And typically what happens is the outside edge of the fin goes to the very edge of the board, and what you want is for this to line up basically pointing in like about roughly 5 degrees from the center of the board, the center being the stringer. And there's like, you know, the more you get into it, the more precise things get. Like on longboards you have a fin in the middle and then 2 side biting fins, or this board potentially these are the fin plugs. You could potentially put one back here if you wanted to be experimental, or there's a variety of configurations, but I would suggest not getting too experimental on your first board. Just kind of copy whatever it is you're trying to copy, unless you have a really far out idea about how to change things. And now we're going to cut out our outline and begin the next phase, which is the cutting, sanding, shaping phase. So here we are in what we are calling the surf shack. We've made this structure so we can make surfboards here. Depends on where you are, how you do it, but I would suggest trying to contain the dust. That's the plastic. We've got the vent out, pulling the dust out, and this lighting is typical to surfboard fabrication, sort of the height of the surfboard to accentuate any problems on the board. You can see your outlines, so when you're sanding you can see everything better. We've got plenty of power for your various tools that you'll be seeing while we're doing this, and we've got a way to attach the planer to get some of the bigger chunks into the trash right away. And normally when I'm in here I always wear the right type of respirator because there's always dust floating around in here, but for the sake of the video I'm going, so you can understand me, I'm not going to do that right now. So, cut. Okay, so we very carefully pinned our template to the blank. You want to avoid going too deep into the blank with the pins because that may create problems. And then you carefully mark along the blank on the template the whole board. And you flip over your template. Again, precision matters. And you copy your mirror image onto the other side of your blank. And cut. Quick one. Ready? Unpin your template. And here you have your basic outline on your blank. And as I said earlier, this one, we were trying to maximize using all of the foam on this particular blank, and as you can see, we're doing a good job here. Our outline is all the way to the edge, so no waste. That's good. What I do is score along this line with an X-Acto very carefully. Things really start to matter here. And just very lightly go along your outline and create a groove for you to go in. The first time I did this, I didn't do it very precisely, thinking that it would all come out in the sanding. But what I'm trying to get across here is actually the more precise you do this, the less sanding there is, and just the better it is in the end. So really take your time making this perfect. And cut. So I've gone through and I've scored a line with my X-Acto blade to make a little groove, and then I take a bigger knife. I'm using, I don't know what kind of knife this is, your basic